Well, hello, lovely Desert Ridge Academy 6th graders. We're here to do some test corrections for our properties and factoring quiz. All right, number 1. Which property is illustrated in the statement below? So we have 3 plus the quantity of 7 plus 12 equals 3, the quantity of 3 plus 7 plus 12. So really you're just looking to name what property is represented here. As you can see, we changed grouping what was paired together. That would be our associative property. So when you change partners, so in this case 7 was partnered with 12, now 7 is partnered with 3. When you change properties, when you change who you're partnered with parentheses, so what you're grouped with, that is your associative property. Same thing for the next one. You're just basically naming that property. You have 18 times 1 equals 18. This would be an example of the identity property, because that's what happens when you multiply by 1. You get the same thing you started with. All right. Next, our all-important distributive property. This is going to follow you like the other ones, but this is super important all the way through high school. So you're going to want to make sure you know how to do this. This first problem for the distributive property, you should see is a breakup. So we should see a breakup. So 4 times the quantity of, and we're going to break up this 23 into 20 plus 3. So I like to see, we're going to see a breakup. Next, you would see some sharing, because again, this gets a 4 and that gets a 4. So it would be 4 times 20 plus 4 times 3. And then from there, you just solve. You multiply. 4 times 20 is 80. 4 times 3 is 12. You put those together, 92. So when you're doing the distributive property, you should see a breakup, and there should be some sharing out. In this case, we were sharing the 4. Next, use the distributive property to rewrite the expression. So we're looking for, in this case, an equivalent expression to 6 times the quantity of C minus 3. Well, we already have our breakup here. Now all we have to do is share. So the C gets a 6 and the 3 gets a 6. So it'd be 6 times C minus 6 times 3. Well, 6 times C is just 6C. And 6 times 3, we get the value of 18. And there's subtraction separating the two terms. So indeed, using the distributive property, we would get to 6C minus 18. Our next one, number 5, you would determine whether the two expressions are equivalent. We know equivalent means equal to each other. If so, tell what property is applied. If not, explain why. All right, as I'm looking here, I can see that 6 is indeed switching partners, but notice that we have subtraction. And unfortunately, subtraction is not one of our weaker, was a weak operation. It doesn't allow us to change grouping and still get the same answer. For example, you get 3 here, and 10 minus 3 is 7. 6 minus 3 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1. 7 and 1 are not the same thing, so they are not equivalent. So you could say something simply like, are they equivalent? Answer is no. And then we explain why. They are not equivalent because subtraction is not associative, meaning you can't change their grouping and get the same answer. All right, and that's it for that one. Now, number 6 is a test-like question. Like, you're going to see this at the end of the year, so we should be ready to answer it. All right, we're going to fill in the box below with an expression to create a true statement, meaning we want both sides to actually be equal to each other. So as I can see here, I have 12x plus 8. This is the factored form. This is the form after the distributive property, so after we've shared. And as you can see, we're going to share out the 4. So this is going to get a 4, and this is going to get a 4. So I can see the 4 times 2 gives me the 8. All I have to figure out is 4 times what? So 4 times what is going to give me 12x? Well, 4 times 3 gives me 12, and if I make it 3x, 4 times 3x, that's what gives me 12x. So in this box, you should have 3x. Simple. And flipping it over, 3 friends each spend $8 on a movie ticket and $3.50 on small popcorn. Whew, that was cheap. You're going to have to let me know where they went. All right, from here, which expression can be used to find the total amount the friends spent? Choose all that apply. Well, I know there's 3 friends, and they each spent, well, they got $8 tickets, and they also bought a popcorn, $3.50. So I'm looking for 3 times 8 plus 3 times $3.50. So for the first one, if we use our distributive property, we get 8 times 3 plus 3 times $3.50, and that matches with A. So A works. Now for B, I noticed that they just added 8 plus 350 to get 1150. So if you took 1150 and multiplied it by 3, that would also be the correct answer. Now for the next one, we have $8 and $3.50 separated like my original one. So C works. All of these are equal to each other, meaning they're going to give us the same answer at the end. Now D does not work because it only accounts for the ticket. So D is out. E works. E accounts for the ticket, but here you can see it only does one friend buying a popcorn when they all bought a popcorn, so that doesn't work. And here we just switched where the 3 was, as you can see, but it still means to multiply, so they're the same. So this is an example of all or nothing. You needed all 4 to get the correct answer, well, to get credit. So also a test-like question. Now to factoring. Love to factor. We're going to look at what can we take out that they have in common. So we have the two terms, 27x minus 9. So here's my first term, here's my second one. And when I'm factoring, it takes on the following setup. I'm going to look for what can I take out, what do they have in common, and then what doesn't get taken out stays inside. And I can see subtraction separates them, so it's going to be subtraction inside. So I'm thinking 27 can be made by doing 1 times 27 and 3 times 9. Nothing else. And 9 we can make by doing 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. So when I look for a common factor, I see 9, so I can take out 9. In which case, if I take out 9, 9 times what gives me 27x? It'd be 3x, because 9 times, you can see it here, 9 times 3 is 27. And for the x, can't take it out, so it stays inside. And 9 times what gives me 9? That would be 1. So my first option would be 9 times the quantity of 3x minus 1. Or what if you instead took out the 3? Because you can do that. If you took out the 3, we're going to look for what's left inside. Well, 3 times what gives me back to my 27x? And I can see 3 times 9 gets me 27. And because the x isn't found in both of them, x has to stay inside. And now it's just 3 times what gives me 9. And it would be 3 times 3. So it would be 3 on the inside. So my second set of factors could be 3 times the quantity of 9x minus 3. You just needed one or the other. And now to our final 2 test-like questions. Consider the expression 4 times the quantity of 4x plus 3y. Enter the expression that shows the sum of exactly 2 terms that are equivalent to this, 4 times the quantity of 5x plus 3y. This is just a fancy way of saying distributive property. That's all. It's checking to see, do you know what a term is? Now, terms are separated by addition, meaning when it said sum, you know you're going to have addition in this problem because the sum is the answer to an addition problem. And then from there, it's exactly 2 terms. The way you do this, you just share out your 4. 4 times 5x, 20x, plus 4 times 3y, 12y. That's it. It was just a fancy way to say, use the distributive property to simplify that problem. Next, an equivalent expression of 4x plus 18y can be written as a product of two factors. So we know product means you're multiplying. It's the answer to a multiplication problem. And two factors, it simply means two numbers that are being multiplied together. Now it goes on to say one of the factors is 2. So we know ahead of time we're going to be factoring here. We need to find those factors, which means one of the numbers is 2. Enter the second factor that would result in you getting 4x plus 18y. So at the end, after we share out our 2, we want to end up with 4x plus 18y. So basically, this is just another way to say factor. Find the two factors. So 2 times what gives me 4x? That would be 2x. And 2 times what gives me 18? That would be 9y. And because it's 18y, we need 9y. And now the tricky part is it only wants the second factor. So it already told us we had 2. You just had to put 2x plus 9y in the box because that's the second factor. The entire thing. All right, well, that is a test correction for our properties and factoring quiz. See you in class.